This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of Doc and Jock. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me to review the entirety of the Detroit Lions draft is my cousin Adam, the Jock Strozinski. So I just had a quick chance to listen a little bit to our preview. We didn't do a bad job up until the top 10, and then after that it got real murky. But after that, man, the NFL draft was wild, a wild 3 days, and I'm so excited to get your sense of it. And for at least, in one of the rare instances, the Detroit Lions got lucky, and I'm very happy about that because with just the first pick, I think everybody kind of got relaxed. They got put on ease, and they said, hey, they got a pick that's just so easy that you and I could have made it. And I think that was good. It set the tone for what we saw with the Lions draft. I was pretty much okay with it, and I can't wait to get my cousin Adam Strozinski's thoughts on it. Cuz, what'd you make of the Detroit Lions draft?
Look, man, I know you were okay with it. Everybody was okay with it. That was like the one guy that everybody was like, yeah, that's the guy. If he's there, you have to take him. And I think you could tell by the way that war room erupted with Brad Holmes jumping up and down and hugging people, kissing people, handing out $100 bills, shaking hands, kissing babies with everybody. I think Martha and Sheila got a little double mouse click action from Brad. He was so excited. So they were excited too. But look, man, I thought it was a good draft. This was as this regime continues on, my confidence in them grows. And for a couple reasons, specifically with this draft, what you had here was a general manager who didn't go out of his way and do anything stupid. Like, look at what Bill Belichick did, right? We all thought that New England was going to have to trade up to get a quarterback. Good teams just let the draft come to them. That's what Brad Holmes did. The draft came right to him, and you could see the way he was figuring things out, there's a good chance that we're going to get this guy. And that was the guy I think that he was dead set on. If we could get him, we're not moving. And he said as much in other interviews, where if this guy comes to us, we're not even answering the phone. And that's basically what happened. A couple people were interested in grabbing Penei Sewell, and he didn't even answer the phone. He ended up turning in his card early, and he ended up getting in trouble and reprimanded by the league because that's how excited he was. And that was the guy that he wanted. And then if you look at the rest of the draft, I thought they did a really good job. I mean, they addressed a bunch of needs, and they did it with best player available. So I thought this was a really good draft for a first-year general manager. I mean, I think the big issue that a lot of people had was they did basically double tap defensive linemen, but I think you need help along your defensive front. Your defensive front was absolutely brutal. You were gashed all year last year by running backs. You got some meat in the middle, and you got two guys who are really, really good. You got two guys who basically had first and second round grades, and you got them in the second and in the third round. On top of that, you needed a wide receiver. You eventually got one, and he looks like he's going to be a pretty good player. And you needed a linebacker, and you got him. So I don't know how anybody can really be upset with this draft. I'm excited by it. And like I said, watching the way that this front office is working makes me feel extremely confident in their abilities to, one, address player personnel, two, be able to go out and execute a plan, and three, not get ahead of themselves or do anything ridiculous. Like Bob Quinn did a bunch of ridiculous things, like drafting a cornerback, third overall, or you've had other general managers make moves where they would trade up to then trade back to then trade back up. And it was just wasting draft picks. They didn't do any of that. They let the draft come to them. They took advantage when they had to. They did make one move, and that was trading up in the fourth round to grab their linebacker. And I think that tells you what they feel about not just that position, but about that player, where you're going to give up a future fourth round pick to move up into this year's fourth round to grab him to help complement your football team. So I'm okay with it. I just didn't want them to do anything dumb, and they didn't do anything dumb. And I think if you're a Lions fan, you should be excited.
Yeah, in the context of a rebuild, year one, I think it was a professional draft where you lay the groundwork for what you're doing. See, but if you put it in the context of did you maximize value by getting the best talent, Well, you could say that you could have potentially gotten a wide receiver, a skill player, maybe in the third round. Maybe you could have potentially gotten a linebacker, but the linebacker that everybody was talking about potentially now has back problems. So there is going to be a really fascinating look at how teams are built very, very quickly, because everybody right now is happy. Everybody, because the analysts and the reviews are in, and everybody's like, okay, B+. Now, you could have done better, but here's where this could fall off the rails real quickly. Draft 1 could get them fired. If you're looking at how teams are built and rebuild start and maybe how you supercharge it. Now, I'm not saying this is what I would do, but the one thing that can't happen, the absolute worst nightmare, worst case scenario, is if the Bears' aggression comes back to bite the Lions in the ass. The one factor that will bite Brad Holmes, and he cannot let it down, is if Sewell is just okay, kind of a professional lineman, kind of like in the Riley Reef category, and not a generational talent like everybody's saying, because he did go 7th. 3 teams passed on him. 20 years old, opted out. Miami was staring at him right in the face, and they went with Jalen Waddle, which maybe could get that regime fired, because the way in which you handled that was terrible. You traded up for Jalen Waddle. You probably could have waited a couple picks and stayed there and got him. Mm-hmm. But by and large, if Justin Fields becomes Lamar Jackson 2.0, if he becomes a quarterback, that elevates to the upper echelon, and you passed on him because you stuck with your boy, it's the epitome of everything wrong with the Lions. Now, do I think it's going to happen? A lot of coverage is going to be there to talk about it. A lot of people are going to speculate on it. Vito wrote a piece today at SI All Lions regarding what percentage chance he thinks that Justin Fields is going to come back to haunt the Lions. I don't think so, because of the framework of the collective Bears and putting a team together. But if he's pissed, if he's a competitor, if getting drafted outside of the top 10 pisses him off, and he says, oh, okay, Trey Lance, he went ahead of me, if that sparked the fire under him, the volcano could now just be lightly smoking, and Justin Fields could use that little bit of ball of hate, some extra motivation, and if he gets the Bears lit and he just becomes a sensation for the Bears like McMahon did when he was there, it's going to be an absolute disaster, because the first thing people are going to say was, you went in the trenches when you needed a quarterback, when everybody knew, and everybody's expecting that Goff is just going to be a bridge quarterback. So I'm not terribly concerned, me personally, but knowing the cosmos and the way in which the football gods like to fuck around with the Lions fans and their hearts, what percentage chance do you think Justin Fields is going to become a legend? And really, really, I think it would be the bottom straw, where I think everybody would break if Justin Fields becomes a Hall of Famer.
But before I answer that question, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire here, because for about 2 months, you were the guy who was saying, I don't want a quarterback. We don't need a quarterback. Let's not get a quarterback because we have Goff.
But I don't want the Bears to go get one. I don't think you
can have it both ways here.
I don't want the Bears.
I don't think you can say, hey, Justin Fields becomes a great quarterback, and we passed on him because we had Goff, or we had X, Y, and Z. I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, you can. You can say that I want him to go anywhere. I want him to go to the 49ers. I wanted him to go somewhere else.
Well, yeah, but you can't control what the Bears are going to do. And look, the way I look at it, I think it's great. I think the Bears basically saddled their organization and strapped it to a lead weight named Justin Fields. Okay? Like, whatever you think about Justin Fields, fine. Okay, we can differ on that. I don't think he's going to be great at the next level. I think he might be okay. He might be good. I don't think he's going to be great. I think he needs a special head coach to be able to get that out of him, and I don't think the Bears have that. But what the Bears did, this is the second time that the Bears have had to mortgage their future for a quarterback. And look at what happened the first time they did it. You got 4 years of Mitch Trubisky. How great was that? All right? This organization has, again, mortgaged their future to try to go and find that quarterback, to try to get that quarterback. And I don't know if this front office will be there next year. So what happens? You get this changeover, and unless the next guy coming in and is like, hey, that was my guy. I had a huge grade on him. I think he's going to be fantastic. And they pair him with the right coach, he's not going to succeed. And with the way that the Bears have done things recently, I don't think there's any reason to believe that the Bears are going to succeed this year. And I don't believe there's any reason to believe that the Bears are going to succeed next year. Now, if you want to play devil's advocate, you could say, hey, what leads you to believe the Lions are going to succeed? Well, I think the Lions have basically hit the flush button, realized that they were a dirty diaper and that they were a toilet filled with shit. And I think that you've got somebody in there now who looks like a black Mr. Clean, and he's scrubbing things up and he's getting things going. And on top of that, you've got a guy who understands the league, and you got a guy who understands talent and understands what it's like to be a football player and actually cares about the Lions and wants the organization to do well, and Chris Spielman. And I think all of this goes hand in hand with their head coach, who's sometimes a little bit of a knucklehead, but I think we both love his sound bites and love what he says. But I think you have a front office that is marching to the same beat, which is something that we haven't had as Lions fans. But remember, the Bears, I don't think they have that.
Okay, remember, I'm talking about supercharging the rebuild here. Now, what looks like the way in which it's been portrayed and the way it's going down, the Lions are taking it nice and easy, 1-year contracts. 2021 is the building the culture year. I get it. But I don't see Justin Fields logically being the guy that's going to transcend football. But this is we're talking about Lions lore. Shit happens. And wouldn't it be crazy if Justin Fields becomes a legend? That's what I'm saying. As a Lions fan,
it wouldn't be crazy. It would be par for the course.
It would be exactly. But
let me ask you this: do you think that's going to happen in your heart of hearts? Do you believe that's going to happen? What was your grade? Let me scrap that question. Scratch that. What was your grade on Justin Fields? Where did you think he deserved to be compared to the top 5, top 6 quarterbacks that ended up going?
I feel like potentially this happening, if he uses it the right way, could spark his career. I feel like, he's a competitor and played at a big-time program that runs an NFL offense. I feel like he should have been number 3. I think that the 49ers should have took the chance, built a team around him, and he could have had success. I think that Trey Lance is the ultimate risk-reward, where Justin Fields would have been the safer quarterback to build around. So I think he was the 3rd best quarterback based on experience playing in Ryan Day's offense and based on what he could do. So and the intangibles and the room for growth. So I think that he should not have been there, but knowing that he was, I don't believe that he's going to end up being, like, I'm talking about the rarefied air of he just turned into Patrick Mahomes. Now, he can be potentially, upper echelon. Josh Allen can get the job done, beat you a couple times. I'm talking about a guy like Tom Brady who becomes like the best of the best, and you realize, no, not again. That is in the back of my mind. It's not, gone. The fear and the panic is not gone. But
how about we say Aaron Rodgers-esque? He becomes so like bad. Aaron Rodgers.
If he wins the Super Bowl with the Bears, it's bad news. It's bad news because then people are that's the narrative. That's it. Unless Penei Sewell becomes like the best Hall of Fame generational talent and the Lions are rushing for 1,500 yards a season and making running backs, that's going to be the name, I believe, because
here's the thing. I don't think
that's the position. That's the position, the quarterback position.
No, you're right. No, it is the position. It's the most important position. But I don't think it's fair to do that. I think you have to remember who you wanted when you wanted them, right? We'll go back as far as last year, all right? I was big on Tua. I wanted Tua. I didn't necessarily want Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert jumped out to a massive lead in their career right now, and Justin Herbert looks like he's the surefire deal. Right? You can't say like, oh, well, you missed on Joe Burrow. Well, no, you didn't miss on Joe Burrow because he went number 1 overall. Lions had an opportunity at getting their quarterback of the future in either Tua or Justin Herbert. I can't now go back and retcon history and be like, oh, man, Lions totally screwed up and totally should have went with Justin Herbert. No, forever and a day, because I was on this podcast pounding my fist and slamming the table, screaming for Tua. So I don't think it's fair. I think when people do that, one, it devalues your argument because, yeah, you can go back and retcon history as much as you want. That's not what you actually wanted at that time. I would say 98 to 99% of Detroit Lions fans wanted Penei Sewell over Justin Fields that day, at that moment.
Right.
And I don't think it's fair to go back and say, hey, well, you could have had Justin. Well, yeah, you could have, but you didn't want him.
No, fans and what the organization should do is totally different because of the fact that, remember, we're being sold that, hey, this is a solid talent evaluator. He wanted to build through the trenches. But, like you said, we can sit here and say, well, the Lions fans didn't want Penei Sewell, but that's fine. If Brad Holmes lets go of a Hall of Fame quarterback, he won't survive. But we're asking not what we wanted. We're asking what are the chances that Lady Luck bites us again, because we've seen it plenty of times. That's the narrative. And until Penei Sewell outshines Justin Fields, and Justin Fields is the next Mitchell Trubisky, then we can say, okay, good, it worked out. Because remember, we're using logic, and then we're talking reality. Reality says that there's a chance that Penei Sewell might not be the generational talent that we all loved him.
Mac Jones is the best quarterback in this entire draft.
That kind of won't upset me because I feel like the formula was just laid out perfectly. Goes to Alabama, nobody respects him, and then he goes to the Patriots where he can work with the quarterback guys and Josh McDaniel and work it. I think that it would lend to the argument that it wouldn't have happened anywhere else. But if Justin Fields, because Brad Holmes has come out and said that he rated on his board in terms of talent. He said it. He put his name to it. He said, I rated Penei Sewell higher. I ran to the dance there and announced it. So that's where he has put his name on it, that he believes, based on his evaluation, that Penei Sewell's the guy. And I think it's gonna work out. But like I said, Lady Luck just cannot happen where the small chance that Justin Fields becomes this out-of-world quarterback, it's just gonna ruin the entire framework of everything. But it's not, like I said, that's just, we're here to bring up what everybody's talking about, and it's being debated, and we'll look at it. Like I said, you are, I think, logically speaking, the odds are low, but it's not zero. So we'll see. So outside of Sewell, I'm curious, you looked at some of these names. It is hard. I'm trying to train my brain to type these names. And it's
some of these names are difficult.
Yeah. Levi Onwuzuke, McNeil. You look at some of these names and you go, okay, fine. Maybe we'll end up using first names and last names, nicknames, but to try to type it, it's a little bit rough. But I'm curious your assessment. Besides Sewell, because right now most people grade that A+, very happy, top 10 pick, number 7 overall. What do you make of the rest of the draft? Who impressed you? What's the name that said, oh, okay, maybe this guy could be a foundational piece?
I think, Levi Onwuzu? Help me. Okay. Him.
Yeah, that guy had one of the all-time best pressers.
Dude,
I text you this. I text you.
Ever,
I text
right?
you the phonetic spelling. It's Onwuzuki, something like that. Levi.
We'll just call him Levi. We're just gonna call him Levi.
Levi fucks you up, man. That was awesome. That was the best presser ever.
No, I was really impressed with him. I thought that was, again, this was a guy who had a late first-round grade by most people, and you were able to snag him in the second round. And it sounds like there were a lot of other people who were really, really interested in him as well. So I think this is going to be a guy who is going to be a solid piece. I think he's going to make a contribution day one. He's impactful. He's explosive. This is a guy who can beat linemen off the ball, and he can disrupt what goes on in the backfield. And if you look at that defense last year, big problem with that defense was stopping the run and disrupting the quarterback. And I think with the way Aaron Glenn's defense is going to work, you're going to need guys who are going to be able to push that pocket. You're going to need guys to be able to disrupt the offensive linemen and crowd that backfield and basically collapse everything down and force the running backs to try to make a move, whether it be to try to juke you, to try to sidestep you. But I think what's going to happen is that pocket's going to end up surrounding those guys, and it's going to be like a cobra. It's just going to wrap around them. And I think that's what this guy gives you. I think this is a piece of your defensive line for the future. And, we talk about this all the time. And we haven't had a general manager in such a very long time actually built through the trenches.
Right.
And I think that is obviously what you have here with Brad Holmes. I mean, his first 3 picks were beef. It was big dudes up front.
Yeah.
Whether it's solidifying that offensive line or adding guys in the middle to that defensive line to kind of be run stuffers. So
I like Aleem McNeil too. I think back-to-back defensive line, and the fact that it's great that the Eagles coveted him, and you saw the draft video of them kind of being dejected. And the good thing is we kind of started to target him because the fans would put him in so many mock drafts. I got to see him. I'm like, oh, okay. I put him in. I believe I put him in my final mock draft because of the fact that I had him. I think a round later even because of the fact that.
Did he surprise you that they basically went back to back defensive linemen?
I was surprised because I would have thought one of the first 3 picks would have been a wide receiver, someone on offense. So that is amazing in terms of not getting the skill player, getting 3 guys in the trenches, and to be honest, when you're building a team in terms of culture guys are probably easier to create in the trenches than they are anywhere else. No divas, easy talent. And the good thing is they got the memo easily. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. All these guys are like, I love Detroit. I played with Detroit on Madden. I want to fuck people up. I mean, I was shocked that people are talking like this, but that's what they want. They want people to show personality, and it's starting to reveal itself too, because I was talking to Andrea about this too. In regards to culture, I truly believe, and I was telling her, I'm like, you know what? Just based on the sheer amount of content that you're seeing in terms of inside this and inside that, I'm getting a sense of, okay, Bob and Matt didn't want to play the social media game. They didn't want to play the entertainment part of this job. And you're seeing now that, oh, man, there's not a microphone and camera that these two didn't like. They're like, oh, you want to go on the ticket? Sure. You want to go on a podcast? Sure. You want to make videos after the draft, pounding the table? Sure. So you're not fooling anybody here with a brain. That's what you wanted. They wanted guys to play the entertainment game, give us some clicks, do something that sells the program, whereas Matt and Bob just wanted to sit and talk football. When you just seen the dichotomy of both draft rooms, you saw, did you see that footage where Matt's on the phone and Bill Belichick's like, you like him? It's good. Mm-hmm. You good with him? Mm-hmm. And they were nodding, and basically no one was really, they were like kind of breathing through codes. I don't know if it was trying to read through like the nostril, but you're taking fucking Mac Jones. It's like, okay, we got our quarterback, and Matt's on the phone, and it's like, and then meanwhile you got the Lions, and they're doing kumbaya, and they're about to pick each other up and slam each other through tables. The dichotomy is different, but if the Patriots win with all their free agents, give me that. It's cute. I like it. I mean, for the job, it's way more entertaining. But
here's the thing.
You're not fooling anybody. You're not fooling anybody with all this entertainment.
You got to crawl before you can run, man. It's like the Patriots already, for the most part, have a foundation. It got rocked last year. It got rocked. And you know what? Belichick played it perfectly because he ended up zeroing out most of his cap space and was like, cool, we'll hit the reset button now.
What I'm saying,
and they were able to go out and grab a bunch of dudes.
No, what I'm saying is outside of the X's and O's and the film, I think the culture that they were talking about is two dudes that want to represent the Lions.
Absolutely.
In public.
Absolutely.
And play the social and play this game of, okay, let's get in front of the camera and let's do the inside those are great. They're revealing. They have personality. That's the thing. They're not cardboard boxes.
Yes.
They are actual people, and they're bringing you in. And I think what has happened is because Brad told us, he said, I want to trade up, and he traded up. Like Brad told us the night before on day 2, he said, I'm more inclined to trade up, and then they actually did it. So if you followed along, that was my question, I believe, on one of the days is, are the Lions going to acquire more picks? Because I'd felt that they were going to make a trade to maybe do something because Brad said it. And so far, that's what he's portraying is I say this and then it actually happens. So the transparency is great. I'm just, like I said, shocked to see it. And now you know what they were looking for, too. And the guys, they were looking for people that were going to at least participate in stuff outside of the job. Like part of the job that the Lions want is somebody that will talk to people and sell the program and slam a table and sell the hope. And
here's the thing. You'll never convince me otherwise that Sheila understood all the damage that had been done.
Yes, she understood.
Because they were, honestly, a lot of fans were hanging by threads with this front office, with this team, and I think it had got to that point where most fans were ready to just walk away. And I think she understood that. And I think there was a lot of damage done by both Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia with the way they conducted themselves. So when they did their interviews, I think it was part of what they were looking for. You had to have a bit of a personality. You had to be outgoing. You had to be willing to do the small things, do the interviews. Let the players talk. You had to be able to, because it's all about bringing the fans back in And it's all about extending that olive branch, and that's what you get with Brad Holmes. Brad Holmes lets you in. He tells you what the fuck's up.
So I'm saying you like it.
This is what I'm thinking.
You like
this is what I want to do.
You like it as a fan of the Lions. You're enjoying this.
I look. I'm so excited, and I'm so happy about where this team's at, and with what this front office has basically brought.
Nice.
So yeah, like I'm.
You're on board, baby. See,
man.
they sold you. That's what I'm saying. The other side of it is knowing that you're staring, and this is beautifully done psychologically, and that's what I'm asking. Knowing that you're staring a 6-win season in the face, you're happy. This is what they wanted. I think.
I want them to be horrible next year.
Yeah,
like
this is what I'm saying.
I want them to be as bad as possible. I want you to end up with the first overall draft pick if possible. I want you to win three wins.
This is how you silence the fan base just a little bit to say, hey, let's not have anybody uprising for at least 365 days. Everything's good. We got this entertainment down. This will keep people off our ass for a couple more years. Let's see what's going on because it's ticking. This season will be a wash. 6-7 wins. Nobody will care. Year 2, you got to show something. So it's coming. Your free pass year is good. It produced all the quotes you want, but it's just around the corner where you got to produce. It's the no fun league, and it's not WWE here. It's not all entertainment because that's fun for now, but let's see how this plays out. Were there any picks that you said, well, was it Barnes, maybe Jefferson with the last pick, but it's a throwaway? Was there anybody that you said, well, maybe not the pick I'm looking for? Because I think everybody's happy with St. Brown because of the comp to Golden Tate. They saw the film that he can catch the ball. Not going to be a number 1, but a role player, and that's what they're looking for at this point in time. Did any pick make you kind of go, well, I'm not really down with that selection. It could be a problem.
I don't really have a pick where I'm like, that's going to be a problem. I was surprised that they did trade back up in the 4th round to grab Derek Barnes. And here's the thing. Linebacker was a position that I think we all thought that they needed and that they needed to address at some point. But to give up some draft capital next year to move up kind of shocked me. And it was more of, all right, like who's Derek Barnes and what does he really bring to the table? And is this a player that's worth your future 4th round pick? You know what I'm saying? Is it worth it? Is it worth trading up and giving up whatever you're going to get next year so you can go back to back this year? And that was the one pick. And it wasn't even so much the draft pick itself because the position I love. I don't know a ton about Derek Barnes. I'm going to be interested to see what he brings to the table. I have to do a little bit more watching of some of his highlights, but he was the pick where I was like, I just
more
don't
risk.
know.
There's more risk involved. A little bit more risk.
It seemed like it was much more risk than reward.
Yes, because you did make a trade. The reason why trading the draft capital is no big deal because you got 2 or 3 comp picks coming. So in essence, you just give up a 4th round pick, and you could pick that up pretty easily if you want to make a move. So yes, Derek Barnes will be a pick potentially that maybe he's going to probably take a little time to marinate because just like the secondary, linebackers take a little bit of time to develop. So, okay, I'm going to take a stab at it here because I did send you, like a professional, the frenetic pronunciation. They call the man. Because, Syracuse is not really a football powerhouse in the secondary.
Yeah.
Ifeatu Melifonwu. Ifeatu Melifonwu, probably going to be known as Ifeatu in this because we're wrestling fans and they can kind of, get us into the Samoan type things. But the Nigerian connection on the Lions is going to be talked about because you got a bunch of Nigerians on this team, and now you added one to the secondary to go along with Jeff Okudah. So, if you're a fan of Coming to America, here we have the Nigerian connection. Ifeatu Melifonwu, I think, is probably the riskiest because you're already hearing people going, good size, but not a corner. Maybe put him at safety right away. You're like, okay, we don't want to hear that just yet. And Brad Holmes was like, we're not moving him yet. Relax. We're going to let the coaching staff figure it out. But I felt like, okay, that's a corner. I know you wanted to add depth there, but you got him from a conference, not, like I said, not really the hotbed of secondary players. But I think he's got a good chance. I think he's got the intangibles, got everything that they're looking for. And I think he can come in at least because of the fact that you see that they got Corn Elder, they got Jeff Okudah, Amani Arawarie. He can sit back. He doesn't have to jump right in. So the value of getting him where they got him is fine because of the fact that they can relax, let him ease his way in, let him learn from the veterans on this roster and then get in there. And if he's got to be the safety early on, if he's got to get in there just in situational type things, I think it'll be okay. But I think he's probably the riskiest in my mind outside of Barnes.
Do you think maybe he comes in and probably plays more of a nickel or maybe more of a dime role early on? And then we already talked about how corners seem to take forever to kind of develop and come along, or at least a season if you're really good. Do you see him more just kind of being put in like a sub package?
No, I see him getting out there. I think they're going to have, with the Lions and what they're saying, they could run 3-4 sometimes, some 4-3, some different type situations. I think they'll give him a chance to get out there a little bit, but I think kind of getting the Jeff Okudah treatment, but expected with no expectations. You know what I mean? Getting out there like 20 to 40 snaps a game, getting some impact, seeing what you can do. I think that, anybody that's 6'3" has got to get out there and see what he can do. As long as he stays healthy and, just a small little nugget that was released, Harbaugh tried to get him. And he was like, it was interesting the way in which it was revealed. It was like he saw the lineups and he said, well, I could probably play at Syracuse. And at Michigan, he was basically told that he was going to have to work his way up. So it's real interesting kind of, it makes sense. These players want to get out on the football field, but this is a guy that got drafted, so I think that it's real interesting to kind of get a little inside information. That Harbaugh went after him. He went after him strong, but ended up not getting the result. Just real quickly, I had a chance to ask one of the beat writers out there at Syracuse, and he says, when he messaged back, the biggest strength for Melifonwu is being able to change direction without losing speed given his size. Rare trait for someone standing at 6'3". Arguably the best press man corner in the draft. Uses his length to get his hands on receivers and disrupt the timing of routes. Weaknesses can be eye discipline and route recognition. Once he recognizes he can mirror well, and he was one of the better cover corners in college football last year. But he does need to work on those two areas, eye discipline and route recognition, meaning that he's probably going to have some rookie woes, could fall for a double move, could potentially recognize just a tad, a little bit. But the good thing is, remember, when you watch film on these guys, and the good thing is, they're looking for guys that can play zone, man, good instincts, that can also blitz off the edge. How many times last year did they try and send, Will Harris or one of the safeties, and Duron Harmon just got lost all the time, and there was no real emphasis on sending a safety outside of Tracy Walker, who got, a couple times got the pressure when it was sent. But now when you got a versatile guy that can potentially sneak and get in there and blitz, now you got a potential use of a guy and versatile. So I'm happy.
I'm excited by this draft. And like the more and more I look at it, I'm blown away at how well Brad Holmes did at grabbing guys that were generally valued higher up
right, the value
in the draft.
The charts are sick,
you're
right?
getting guys in the third round that should have went in the second round. You're getting guys
in
the fourth round, in the third round. Like to me, it's crazy. That's something that I don't remember the last time we've seen a Lions front office be able to do something like that. Most of these guys that they picked up had draft grades a whole round, maybe two rounds ahead of where they got picked up, which is nuts to me.
This is how you win. This is, I believe, how you win, is that you get guys with value and high value people. So I can't complain. I think that the one thing that I think generally speaking philosophically is, we'll look at it as the weeks progress because it's just so soon after the draft. And we want to bathe in the hype just a little bit longer. But we'll start looking at who could have been drafted if you decided, because we play that. We do that all the time. You had this, we could have had that. You could say, to play devil's advocate, not my beliefs here, you could say that the Lions are valuing, culture and things like that. But at the core, could they have potentially maybe not gotten the best linebacker, and passing on Micah Parsons? Could they have potentially passed on a high-skill player? Could they have passed on a wide receiver that is going to be awesome by not getting Devonta Smith, by not getting somebody that is more on the high-end talent right away? You're building in the trenches, and I think in the context, to keep your emotions quelled, in the context of a rebuild, drafting this way is safe and conservative and is more likely to get 4 or 5 guys to at least stay on this roster. And because, to see the question you asked, what do I feel about the front office? Just take a look at the undrafted free agents that you quickly secured. 3 wide receivers that all could potentially blow out the guys you have on the roster. I'm thrilled to get Sage Surratt. I'm thrilled to get the wide receiver from Notre Dame. I'm thrilled to get Jonathan Adams. Those guys have potential. To get those as undrafted guys? Are you serious? It's good, and they can actually legitimately, we could say, could get on the football field and compete. And you're signing guard. You're signing players to compete. So my thoughts on the front office are good job. It seems like they were collaborative. It seems like everything worked out pretty well. And the Lions hired, a potential decent scout to help out. So with all of that combined, it was a B+, A- week, and it was great coverage all the way around. I enjoyed it. It went by so fast, and I thank everybody for all the attention and the fun and the readership and the engagement. Detroit is just crazy in love with the draft, and it bared fruit to fruition to a T. Everybody loves everything, and it's a good time. It's hype season. But when you really dig down and you watch the film and you see the guys that they got, ESPN talked about these guys. They showed film. They showed that these guys are players. They're not guys that you say, well, they can't play, or, well, why? You didn't get a Jelani Tavai, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You didn't get the guy where you go, who? Well, I never heard of him. What's you're like, every player had something to offer that the Lions fans can really gravitate toward and like. And if they're going to come in with personality and saying, hey, the rookies are getting together, we want to change the culture, we want to get to work and handle business, then I'm all for it. I'm all for it. So it's a good time, I think, right now, to at least following the draft, to be a Lions fan.
The one guy who I wish that they would have gotten was Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
Yep.
He ended up going to Cleveland in the second round, but that was the one guy who I was like, he could have been an impact. He could have just been an impactful difference, right? He had a heart issue, and that's kind of why he tumbled. I was surprised that he was falling, and then it comes out that he has the heart issue.
Yep.
But that was the one guy who I was like, man, if you could get him and pair him with whomever else you're going to get, that defense is going to look vastly different. It'll be interesting to see how they go about addressing the linebacker position, because honestly, it's nowhere close to being done. And really and truly, I don't even feel like they've really started to address it. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, not just in the coming weeks, but kind of as the season rolls around and as we go into next year, where they end up putting that emphasis to kind of get that situation fixed, because the linebacking core has been absolutely brutal. So maybe they do it in stages, right? We'll get the front shirt up, then we'll go with the middle, and then we'll get the whole outside taken care of. So it'll be interesting.
Now,
I thought it was a good draft, though.
Yes. Now, cuz when we do this, I watch TV a little bit. Right now, Path to the Draft. Oh, good. This is good. I watched Path to the Draft, and they just showed a good 2-minute highlight reel of Justin Fields throwing. And I'm like, oh, God, is God talking? But guess what? Penei Sewell highlights, baby. You're seeing Levi. This is good. I don't know if God's playing a little back and forth here, because they just showed...
He's messing with you.
He's messing with me. They just showed Justin Fields. They're saying that the Bears are sending a clear message, and now they're starting to show a little bit of the pressure. I like it. Ooh, oh, man, I like it. They're showing Levi with the sacks. They're showing which team sent the clear message about the future of their franchise. Detroit's in the mix, man. That's awesome to see. And we'll see, because it was, Justin Fields first, and then the Lions. So we'll see how this all plays out.
I can't tell you the last time I've been this excited.
Pumped, baby. Let's go. We want to cheer
about
for this team.
Football team.
Top 5 rated draft, grades B+, nothing lower. You got a couple that
I feel so rejuvenated by this football team.
It's fresh.
It's weird.
You know what it is that even, as down as you get, you got to remember 30% plus the draft, it's like a new team every year. And while potentially it's hype season, we feel good following the draft and getting our teeth kicked in every week. Now we just got to wait 7 days for the schedule, and we can play the schedule game. Now we just got to keep our fingers crossed. Maybe get a division game first with the Bears, or get something early, easy out of the way. And as long as it's not the Packers week 2, and we'll talk about that. Did they implode, and how this goes? And we'll see how
everybody's on Rodgers' watch right now.
Yeah, how everybody's doing with that, and we'll look at that in later episodes. But at least now everything is good, and the one thing though post-draft that involves the Lions roster is the tight end position now might need to be addressed. You might get Darren Fells. We're recording this on Wednesday evening, hasn't signed yet, visiting now, probably to sign the deal. We look for it on SI. Darren Fells is a former Lion, but Josh Hill retired. has a history of brain injury, maybe thought that, you know what, I can imagine too, after a grind of 8 years, and you get back up, it's like, okay, do you want to work out? And you're like, I got all this money in the bank, I'm good. Do I want to move? No. And so we'll see if anything further happens. But the tight end position's in flux because it's Hawkinson and then a bunch of dudes with no experience. So outside of that, it's a rebuild. And if you can get just off to maybe a 2-0 start, a little bit of hope, I think a 17-game schedule could at least provide for some intrigue. Like I said, it's 6-11, 7-10. Not too bad, at least in year one. As long as you don't come out look like 1-16 and look like you don't belong. And I don't think that's going to happen with the talent on the field and the passion that they're going to show. So, man, cuz I'm excited. I can't wait to dive in deeper. I think we did a good job with our initial reaction. And then as the weeks progress, we watch the film, we see more of what's being said and what we believe. I think that it'll just add more color and flavor to what's going on. And then just real fast to wrap up, the Tigers, Pistons, Wings. Pistons and Wings season just flew by because they're a little bit shortened. And, you got to take a look at the rebuild. Tigers are a disaster right now, and they didn't even make it to May. The Tigers did not even make it to May to keep our interest, and it's bad, and we'll probably for sure put it on the docket next week because it's not going to get better. They're getting their ass handed to them by Boston already on this Wednesday evening. I enjoyed the broadcast. Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSGROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Weigh in if we're being too professional, if you love the draft, if we're being too cynical, if there's another player that you feel the Lions should have targeted.
If we're not negative enough.
If we're not negative enough, dude, we got a guy.
We're always told we're too damn negative.
We got a guy that's sticking to it, and he's like, no, I'm not believing until I see it, and I like it. Bring it. Tell us why they're gonna stink. We want to hear all the opinions. It's good, man. Good, bad, or indifferent. I believe we're the most interactive Detroit sports account, and we're the funniest. And I think that people understand the dedication that we did with this because. The NFL is never ending, but also the world of Detroit sports is ever evolving with the rebuild. So can't wait to see it. Let's see if maybe we can just do a little dance here. Some draft luck for these teams because they're all sucking, but they all can't get past the 4th pick. Let's maybe get the Wings the top 1 pick. Let's get the Pistons the top 3 pick. Get Cade Cunningham to the freaking Pistons. Let's get some talent here in Detroit all the way around like the Lions added. So make sure you subscribe. Can't wait to connect with you next week because it's going to be a great time breaking down the Lions and Detroit sports.
Keep up the great work with SI, man.